Number 10. Yamaha XS 650. The Yamaha XS 650 is one of the most talked about vintage motorcycles of all time, and for good reason. Released in 1970, this 654cc parallel twin was Japan's shot across the bow at British manufacturers like Triumph and Norton. But where those bikes were temperamental and leaky, the XS 650 was clean, simple, and incredibly dependable. Its overhead cam engine was surprisingly advanced for its class and built like a tank. Riders who bought these bikes new often found themselves racking up tens of thousands of miles with nothing more than basic oil changes, new spark plugs, and the occasional carb clean. Its classic kickstart design, paired with dead simple electrics, made it both reliable and charming. But it wasn't perfect. Critics pointed out its harsh vibration at highway speeds and its mediocre chrome that didn't age well in humid climates. Still, custom bike builders, cafe racer fans, and vintage restorers love it today for its easy parts availability and rugged design. Search any vintage motorcycle forum and you'll see debates over the XS 650's legacy. But one thing's clear, for a motorcycle that's over 50 years old, it's aged better than most. Number 9. Honda CB450. Nicknamed the Black Bomber, the Honda CB450 was Honda's first serious push into the performance motorcycle segment. With a 444cc parallel twin and dual overhead cams, it had cutting-edge technology that was light years ahead of what most Western manufacturers were offering at the time. This bike proved Honda was more than just a maker of small commuters. The CB450 revved high, handled well, and had a rock-solid bottom end. Despite its performance focus, it remained incredibly reliable. Riders could go months between major tune-ups, and even aggressive use didn't seem to phase the engine. Mechanics of the era praised the CB450's dry sump lubrication system, which ensured consistent oiling under all conditions. Combine that with Honda's typically excellent electrical components, and you've got a machine that was easy to trust, whether commuting to work or blasting along country back roads. Today, vintage collectors chase the CB450 because it was one of the earliest high-performance bikes that didn't come with a laundry list of problems. Parts are still widely available, and restoration is surprisingly affordable. If you want a 1970s motorcycle that balances performance with longevity, this is your ride. Number 8. Suzuki GT750. The Suzuki GT750, affectionately known as the Water Buffalo, debuted in 1971 and immediately stood out with one groundbreaking feature: liquid cooling. While most motorcycles of its era relied on air cooling, the GT750's water-cooled 738cc two-stroke triple set a new standard for engine reliability and long-distance capability. The bike was a favorite among touring riders. Thanks to its smooth power delivery and relatively low engine heat, it could run for hours without overheating, something that couldn't be said for many air-cooled rivals. Despite its hefty 500-plus pound weight, it handled surprisingly well and offered a comfortable upright riding position perfect for extended journeys. Its unique 3x4 exhaust system created a throaty, unmistakable sound that's still celebrated by collectors today. While detractors complained about its weight and dated styling, fans knew the GT750's engine was virtually indestructible if maintained properly. Modern mechanics still rave about its overbuilt crankshaft and bulletproof water pump design. Even today, you'll find GT750s at vintage rallies and online marketplaces, often still running with original motors. It's proof that Suzuki's engineering of the early 70s was nothing short of brilliant. Number 7. Kawasaki Z1. Launched in 1972, the Kawasaki Z1 is arguably the most legendary big bike Japan ever built. With a 903cc dual overhead cam inline 4, it was the fastest production motorcycle in the world at launch. But what really made the Z1 iconic wasn't just its speed, it was its ability to survive that speed over time. The Z1 engine was designed for sustained high-performance use. The dual overhead cam architecture gave it smooth, predictable power across the rev range, while its forged internals meant it could take abuse that would destroy lesser bikes. It became a favorite in endurance races, police departments, and among long-distance riders. And yet, despite its high output, it was famously low maintenance. Regular oil changes and valve checks were all it took to keep it happy. Riders put hundreds of thousands of miles on these machines in the 70s and 80s, and many are still doing it today. Ask any Z1 owner what they love about the bike and you'll hear the same thing. It never dies. That's why the Z1 isn't just one of the most powerful motorcycles of its era, it's one of the most trusted. Number 6. Yamaha DT250. The Yamaha DT250 was the bike that made off-road riding mainstream. It wasn't just a trail bike, it was a dual sport revolution. Lightweight, affordable, and incredibly dependable, the DT250 could take you from the suburbs to the backwoods without skipping a beat. Powered by a 246cc two-stroke engine, the DT250 was easy to start, easy to fix, and tough as nails. It had no fancy electronics or delicate components. It didn't need them. Simplicity was the key to its reliability. Chain, plug, air filter, oil. That's all it took to keep it moving. Farmers, adventurers, and even mail carriers in rural areas used DT250s for years because they could be repaired with basic tools and some mechanical know-how. And with such a huge production run, finding parts today is still easy. Whether you're riding a vintage model in the Australian outback or commuting in Northern California, the DT250 is the kind of motorcycle that refuses to die and loves a little dirt. Number 5. Honda CB500-4. The Honda CB500-4 was the middleweight champion of Honda's lineup in the early 70s, and it didn't take long for riders to realize it had nearly all the refinement of the CB750 without the extra bulk. With a 498cc inline 4, this bike delivered smooth acceleration, refined manners, and the kind of mechanical durability that made people lifelong Honda fans. Unlike some of its larger or smaller siblings, the CB500 hit the sweet spot. It had enough power for highway touring, enough agility for city streets, and enough reliability to win over even the most skeptical British bike enthusiasts. The engine's 5-bearing crankshaft, precise cam timing, and balanced carbs all worked together to ensure the bike rarely needed more than basic servicing. Its clutch lasted forever, its transmission shifted like butter, and its electrical system, often a pain point in vintage bikes, was nearly flawless. Many mechanics say they'd rather rebuild the CB500 than any other inline 4 of the decade, simply because it was built to last and built to be serviced. Today, the CB500-4 is considered a collectible sleeper. It may not get the same love as the CB750, but for those who ride them, it's often their favorite bike of all time. Number 4. Yamaha RD350. Two-strokes aren't usually praised for longevity, but the Yamaha RD350 changed that. Introduced in 1973, the RD350 packed a 347cc two-stroke twin into a lightweight chassis and delivered a riding experience that felt like a shot of adrenaline. It became a favorite for racers, hooligans, and everyday riders who wanted speed on a budget. But here's the twist. Despite its wild power band and aggressive nature, the RD350 was incredibly well engineered. It had oil injection, so no pre-mixing fuel. It had solid porting and a wide power band that made it surprisingly rideable. And most of all, it had an engine that, with basic care, just kept going. Thousands of these bikes were raced, wheelied and abused, and yet they survived. Riders learned early that the RD350, while aggressive, was also forgiving. Pistons were cheap, carb tuning was simple, and once you understood its personality, the bike rewarded you with years of high-revving fun. In vintage circles today, a clean RD350 is pure gold, not just because it's collectible, but because it still runs. If you're looking for a high-performance 1970s bike that's not afraid to get dirty and still comes back for more, this is your answer. Number 3. Honda CB350. The Honda CB350 is one of the best-selling motorcycles of all time, and once you ride one, it's easy to understand why. With a 325 parallel twin, it delivered the perfect balance of power, simplicity, and reliability for first-time riders and seasoned veterans alike. The bike was bulletproof, its engine ran cool, didn't vibrate excessively, and handled city riding or long highway miles without complaint. It featured electric start, rare for the time, yet also included a Kickstarter for redundancy. Dual carbs, easy to sync. Points ignition, dead simple. Riders racked up insane mileage on these machines. Stories of CB350s with 80,000 plus original miles and untouched engines aren't uncommon. The bike's steel tank resisted rust, the wiring harness stayed solid, and the frame built like a bridge. Whether you're riding solo across America or just commuting to work, the CB350 asked very little from its owner and gave a lot in return. Today, many CB350s still serve as daily riders, especially in Southeast Asia and South America, where parts are still readily available and bikes are expected to live forever. Number 2. Kawasaki H2 Mach-4. Yes, the Widowmaker is on a reliability list, and for good reason. Kawasaki H2 Mach-4, released in 1972, was feared for its sudden power delivery and wild handling. With a 748cc two-stroke triple making 74 horsepower, it was the fastest bike you could buy and one of the most misunderstood. The power came on like a hammer at 5,000 RPM, but beneath that aggressive exterior was a remarkably durable engine. The H2's crankshaft, bearings, and ignition system were all designed to handle serious abuse. If you kept it tuned and respected the redline, the H2 would run clean, run fast, and run for years. Many H2s ended up in racing paddocks or drag strips, where they proved they could handle sustained high RPM punishment. Others were used for touring. Yes, really, by brave riders who learned to tame the beast. And with oil injection, the two-stroke lifestyle wasn't nearly as painful as people think. Today, the H2 remains one of the most collectible Japanese bikes ever made, not just for its speed, but for how well it held up after 50 years of thrill-seeking. Number 1. Honda CB750. The undisputed king, the Honda CB750 didn't just redefine what motorcycles could be, it set the bar for reliability that still hasn't been beaten. Introduced in 1969 and dominating through the 1970s, this 736cc inline-4 was Honda's mic drop on the world stage. The engine was smooth, powerful, and nearly unbreakable. It used an overhead camshaft, reliable K-in carburetors, and an electric starter that worked every single time. Its front disc brake was cutting edge, and its chassis, while basic, held up to decades of riding. Here's the thing about the CB750. It wasn't just reliable when new, it's still reliable now. There are thousands of these bikes still on the road, many of them unrestored, still pulling duty as daily commuters or touring bikes. Mechanics love working on them because they rarely fail. Owners love riding them because they always start. This is the bike that launched the superbike era, but more than that, it's the bike that launched a million memories, and it's still making them. If you're building a garage of vintage motorcycles and want one that'll actually get you home, start with a CB750.